Hey guys, tonight we're taking a walk down a quiet, dew-covered path in the woods. You can almost smell the damp earth and the sharp scent of pine. You can hear the crunch of leaves underfoot. But then, you see it. Up ahead, just off the trail, is a single running shoe. It's stark white against the dark soil, its laces still tied in a perfect double knot. The silence that felt peaceful a moment ago now feels heavy, watchful. This is the kind of story that reminds you that the most ordinary days can curdle into lifelong nightmares in the span of a single heartbeat. And you probably shouldn't be listening to this alone. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's your support that keeps this channel going. When you're done, drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Her name is Amelia Hayes, and she's a creature of meticulous habit. At 28, she's a successful landscape architect, a woman who literally designs order out of chaos for a living. Her life is a reflection of her work. Her one-bedroom apartment in a quiet, leafy suburb is less a home and more a museum of control. Her bookshelf isn't just organized, it's a gradient of color, flowing from crimson to violet like a literary sunset. In the kitchen, her spices are alphabetized. Her coffee mugs hang with their handles all facing precisely east. To her friends, it's a funny quirk. To Amelia, it's just correct. It's the only way to keep the messy, unpredictable world at bay. You can almost see her on that Tuesday morning. The alarm, a gentle chime, not a jarring buzz, sounds at exactly 5:30 a.m. She doesn't hit snooze. Amelia never hits snooze. By 5:45, she's dressed in her running gear, lacing up her shoes with that signature double knot. By 5:50, she's grabbing a single protein bar, peanut butter, always peanut butter, and her phone. Her keys and wallet remain in the small ceramic bowl by the door, exactly where they always are when she goes for a run. By 6 a.m., she's out the door, pulling it shut behind her. She probably even checks the lock, a familiar ritual. It's a shame then that the main security camera in her building's lobby has been on the fritz. A maintenance notice taped to the wall for a week promises a fix by Wednesday. The one day her carefully constructed fortress of safety has a crack in its wall. The first sign that something is wrong isn't a scream or a frantic call. It's digital. An email notification lands in Chloe's inbox at 10:17 a.m. Your shared payment method for Netflix has been declined. Chloe frowns. Amelia is the account holder, and Amelia would rather run a marathon in flip-flops than miss a payment on anything. It's a small tear in the perfect fabric of her sister's life, but it's enough to make Chloe's stomach clench. She calls Amelia. It goes straight to voicemail. She texts. No reply. Another text. Nothing. By 3 p.m., a seed of annoyance has blossomed into full-blown panic. Chloe drives to Amelia's apartment. She finds the front door unlocked. And that's when the real chill sets in. Because the apartment is perfect. Too perfect. It's silent and still. A glass of water, half full, sits on the granite countertop, a thin ring of condensation at its base. The mail is in a neat stack on the console table. The throw pillows on the sofa are perfectly fluffed. It's a scene frozen in time, waiting for its main character to return. But her car is in its designated spot in the parking garage. Her keys and wallet are in the bowl. Only her phone and her running shoes are gone. Chloe calls 911. Two uniformed officers arrive, their heavy boots looking clumsy and loud into serene space. They walk through the apartment, their eyes scanning for the obvious signs of a struggle that aren't there. No overturned furniture, no broken glass, no blood. It's one of the most frustrating scenes a cop can walk into. A missing person case with no evidence of a crime. One of the officers, a veteran with tired eyes, mutters about the 48-hour rule. Not an official policy, of course, but a grim statistical reality. The chances of finding a missing person alive drop catastrophically after the first 2 days. The clock is already ticking, and they are standing at a dead start. They want to check her laptop, her tablet, her digital life. But they can't. Not yet. Not without a warrant. And to get a warrant, they need probable cause of a crime. As it stands, Amelia is just gone. It's a modern policing nightmare. Experts still argue whether the urgent need to find someone justifies the immediate suspension of their digital privacy rights. For the officers in this silent apartment, the debate is academic. Their hands are tied. As they scan the room one last time, one of them notices the bookshelf. A perfect rainbow of spines, except for one. A single book, a thick guide on North American botany, is pulled out by about an inch, its green spine slightly askew. It's a tiny, insignificant detail. But in a world as ordered as Amelia's, it feels like a scream.
That one askew book is a splinter in the mind of Detective Harding when he arrives on the scene. Harding is a man who operates on patterns. In his 20 years on the force, he's learned that crime is rarely about the spectacular explosion. It's about the subtle disruption, the single note played out of key. In a life as harmonized as Amelia Hayes's, a crooked book is a dissonant chord. But it's not evidence, it's not a lead, it's just wrong. And in the first 48 hours, wrong is all they have to go on. He leaves the uniformed officers to tape off the apartment, a futile gesture that feels more like a ritual than a precaution. The real scene of the crime, he suspects, is miles away. Harding's first move is textbook. He builds a victimology report. Who is Amelia Hayes, really? Not the person her alphabetized spices say she is, but the person who exists in the emotions of others. He starts with the sister, Chloe, whose grief is raw and sharp. Through her tears, she paints a picture of a brilliant, driven, but intensely private woman. And then she gives him the name he's been waiting for, Julian Vance, the ex-boyfriend. The breakup was 6 months ago. According to Chloe, it wasn't just a breakup, it was a detonation. You can almost picture the scene in the interrogation room. Julian Vance sits under the flat, unforgiving light, trying to look relaxed and failing spectacularly. He's a graphic designer, the kind of guy whose casualness is meticulously crafted. His t-shirt is artfully wrinkled, his hair a studied mess. He drums his fingers on the metal table, the sound echoing the nervous thrum in his chest. He tells Harding the breakup was mutual, amicable even, a lie so thin it's transparent. Harding pulls up their text history, not from a warrant, but from Chloe's phone. It's a digital tapestry of bitterness, accusations from Amelia about her unreliability, snippy defensive replies from Julian. The last one, from him to her, sent a week before she vanished, reads, "You'll get what you deserve." It's a prosecutor's dream, a classic crime of passion. Julian's alibi is flimsy too. He says he was home alone working on a freelance project. No one saw him. He has no receipts, no digital footprint to back it up. He looks, for all intents and purposes, like their guy. It's the first big, promising lead, and the department throws its weight behind it. They put a tail on him, they dig into his financials, they prepare the paperwork for a search warrant for his apartment. The entire machinery of the investigation begins to grind in his direction. Meanwhile, a second lead is developing in a sterile, air-conditioned office downtown. The Financial Crimes Unit, using a warrant granted under exigent circumstances, a legal fast track used when there's immediate danger to life, is deep inside Amelia's bank records. This is where a fascinating legal debate often comes into play, the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. If a defense attorney could later argue that the initial warrant was granted on insufficient probable cause, any evidence discovered from it could be deemed inadmissible. But right now, no one is thinking about a future trial. They're thinking about finding a missing woman. And they find something. A cash withdrawal. The day before she disappeared, Amelia walked into her bank and took out $15,000 in cash from a savings account she hadn't touched in 3 years. This changes everything. It screams ransom or blackmail or a deal gone wrong. It's a lead that points away from the jilted ex-boyfriend and towards a more professional, more sinister kind of criminal. The irony is delicious, in a morbid way. The police have two perfect competing theories. Theory A, a volatile ex-boyfriend, a history of conflict, a threatening text. Theory B, a mysterious financial transaction, a large sum of cash, a secret life. It feels like the case is about to break wide open. And then just as quickly, it all falls apart. The tale on Julian Vance reports something unexpected.
He doesn't go to a dark alley to meet a co-conspirator. He goes to the sleek, glass-fronted office of Amelia's biggest professional rival. It turns out his freelance project was a portfolio presentation for a secret job interview. He was lying about being home because he didn't want Amelia or her family to know he was trying to work for the competition. His alibi, once it's verified by the company's HR department and security logs, is rock solid. The first lead evaporates into a puff of embarrassing smoke. Hours later, the second lead follows suit. After interviewing the bank teller who handled the transaction, they get a detail that wasn't on the statement. Amelia wasn't nervous or distressed. She was excited. She told the teller she was finally buying a special piece of equipment for a personal passion project. After more digging, they find the seller, a private hobbyist from a neighboring state she found on a niche online forum. And what did she buy with the $15,000 in cash? A high-end, professional-grade aerial drone with thermal imaging capabilities, sold without a serial number for untraceability. An incredibly odd purchase for a landscape architect. Why would a woman obsessed with control and order buy an untraceable high-tech surveillance machine in cash? It's a baffling detail, but it's not a crime. The money is accounted for. The lead is dead. 48 hours have now passed. The two most promising avenues of investigation have become dead ends. The police are back where they started, standing in the silence of Amelia's perfect apartment, staring at that one crooked book on the shelf. The clock hasn't just been ticking, it's been mocking them. The air in the Hayes family home is thick with a stale, recycled grief. You can feel it clinging to the furniture, hanging in the drapes. It's been 3 days now, 72 hours. The police investigation has ground to a halt, choked by the dead ends of Julian Vance's alibi and the perplexing drone purchase. Detective Harding, for his part, is doing his best, but resources are being stretched. A new homicide across town is pulling manpower, and the media spotlight on Amelia's case is starting to dim. The national news has moved on. Hope is a dwindling commodity. It's in this atmosphere of quiet desperation that Chloe Hayes makes a decision. She's seen the flyers they've posted, the well-meaning but useless social media campaigns. It's not enough. She remembers a story her grandfather used to tell, a news clipping he kept from years ago about a search and rescue team that found a lost hiker in the mountains after everyone else had given up. The hero of that story wasn't a man, but a dog. So Chloe goes online. She doesn't search for police or detective. She searches for legendary search and rescue dogs. And that's how she finds him. His name is Marcus Thorne, and he's less a man and more a myth in the SAR community. He lives in a rustic cabin 3 states away, a place without a proper street address, and he doesn't have a website. You find him through word of mouth, through whispers in online forums dedicated to lost souls. Marcus is a former K-9 police officer who quit the force after a case went bad, disillusioned with the bureaucracy. He now works exclusively for private clients, the desperate families the system has failed. His fee is exorbitant, a figure that makes Chloe's breath catch in her throat. But his success rate is the stuff of legend. And his partner is even more famous, a 9-year-old golden retriever named Nuzzles. The name is a spectacular piece of misdirection. Nuzzles is not a pet, he is a finely tuned biological instrument. What makes him unique is his training. He started his career as a cadaver dog, trained to detect the specific chemical compounds released by human decomposition. It's a grim, specialized skill. But a few years into his career, Marcus noticed something extraordinary. Nuzzles wasn't just signaling on deceased subjects. On several occasions, he'd led them to living people who were severely injured and near death, people whose bodies had just begun the cellular decay process. This observation led Marcus to a revolutionary, if controversial, theory. He believed Nuzzles could detect the scent of extreme distress, the unique cocktail of hormones like cortisol and adrenaline,
combined with the faint metabolic signals of a body shutting down. He retrained Nuzzles, cross-referencing his cadaver skills with live trailing techniques. He created a hybrid, a dog that didn't just search for the dead or the living, but for the fragile space in between. It was a methodology laughed at by many traditional SAR handlers. Experts still argue whether a dog can truly be trained to scent impending death, or if it's merely a case of heightened sensitivity to standard human scent. The formal term for this is scenting the agonal breath, and its scientific validity is a hot-button issue in forensic circles. But Marcus's results spoke for themselves. Chloe gathers the family. She makes her pitch. They pooled their retirement funds, their savings, their emergency accounts. They drain everything they have to meet Marcus Thorne's fee. It's a wild, desperate gamble, a Hail Mary based on a whisper and a prayer. 24 hours later, a dusty, mud-splattered pickup truck that looks like it survived an apocalypse pulls up to the Hayes' home. Marcus Thorne steps out. He's a man carved from oak, with a face that holds the geography of 1,000 sleepless nights. He doesn't offer platitudes or false comfort. He just nods, his eyes already scanning, assessing. And beside him, sitting calmly in the passenger seat, is Nuzzles. The dog looks at the grieving family with soft, intelligent brown eyes, a gentle soul tasked with the darkest of jobs. Harding is there when they arrive. He's skeptical, of course. He's seen families hire psychics, dowsers, every kind of charlatan you can imagine. He sees a man with a dog and a big price tag. He allows them access to Amelia's apartment, more to placate the family than anything else. An odd detail, however, is that Marcus isn't interested in the bedroom, the bathroom, or any of the places the police dogs had already scented. He asks Chloe a single strange question. Was she a gardener? Chloe, confused, nods. Amelia loved her small balcony garden. She shows Marcus a pair of worn-out gardening gloves lying on a shelf in the hall closet. They smell of soil and fertilizer. Marcus takes one of the gloves, puts it in a sealed bag, and walks out to his truck. He lets Nuzzles scent the glove, a long, deep inhale. The dog's entire demeanor changes. The soft-eyed pet disappears, replaced by a laser-focused professional. He whines softly, a low thrum of anticipation. The legend, it seems, is about to go to work. The irony is lost on no one. With all the high-tech tools at their disposal, GPS tracking, cell phone triangulation, financial forensics, their last, best hope rests on the most ancient technology of all. One nose. The scene outside Amelia's apartment complex is a study in contrasts. On one side, you have Detective Harding and two uniformed officers, their cruisers parked neatly by the curb, their faces etched with a professional skepticism they aren't trying very hard to hide. They've already run their own canines through here. The dogs, trained for standard human scent trailing, lost the track within 100 yards of the building, the trail dissolving into the olfactory chaos of a dense suburban neighborhood. 1,000 different smells of 1,000 different lives, all crisscrossing and overlapping. To them, this is a cold case, and Marcus Thorne is just putting on a show for a grieving family. On the other side, you have Marcus, Chloe, and Nuzzles. The golden retriever stands on the manicured lawn, his nose twitching, processing a world of information that is completely invisible to the humans around him. Marcus holds the leash loosely, his eyes fixed on the dog's tail, reading its subtle movements like a seismologist reads a needle. Nuzzles takes another deep pull from the bag containing Amelia's gardening glove. He raises his head, sniffs the air, and then does something completely unexpected. He ignores the jogging path. He ignores the sidewalk. He ignores the direction Amelia would have logically gone for her morning run. Instead, he turns and trots purposefully towards the back of the apartment complex, heading directly for the large communal dumpsters.
Harding lets out a quiet, exasperated sigh. It's a classic false start. The dog is just smelling discarded food. But Marcus doesn't pull him back. He trusts the dog. Nuzzle circles the dumpsters once, twice, his nose low to the ground. Then he stops, looks back at Marcus, and gives a soft woof. It's not a bark of discovery, but a signal of confirmation. From there, the trail becomes a frustrating, nonsensical puzzle. Nuzzles leads them not along a path, but through a series of what seem like random, disconnected points. He leads them through the backyards of 2 adjacent houses, across a busy street where he hesitates, sniffing the pavement where a vehicle might have stopped, and then into the parking lot of a small, forgotten strip mall. It's a route that makes no sense for a person on foot. It's disjointed, erratic. The officers following them are now openly dismissive. One of them mutters to Harding, "He's just chasing squirrels, sir." The tension between the official police effort and Marcus's unorthodox methods is palpable. This friction is a common feature in missing person cases involving private SAR teams. Officially, law enforcement must maintain control of a potential crime scene, and outside involvement can contaminate evidence. The legal event here is the formal signing over of a search grid. Harding, seeing his own investigation is stalled, makes a call. He can't officially sanction Marcus's search, but he can deprioritize the grid Nuzzles is currently following, essentially giving Marcus and the family a free hand while his own teams focus on recanvassing Amelia's neighborhood. It's a bureaucratic loophole, a way of letting the maverick work without officially endorsing him. Nuzzles leads them to the back of the strip mall, behind a laundromat. The air smells of detergent and hot dryers. The dog stops at a storm drain, whining and pawing at the grate. Marcus shines a high-powered flashlight down into the darkness. There, glinting in the beam, is a small, silver object. It's a disposable lighter. Chloe's breath hitches. It's a specific brand, a cheap gas station lighter with a wolf howling at the moon printed on it. Amelia didn't smoke, but she was obsessed with scented candles. She bought these lighters by the dozen because she thought the wolf was kitschy and funny. It's a bizarrely personal, almost trivial detail, yet it's the first piece of physical evidence they found outside her apartment. The first tangible proof that she was here. It's a small victory, but it electrifies the search. For the first time, a flicker of hope cuts through Harding's skepticism. But the discovery also deepens the mystery. Why would her lighter be here, in a storm drain behind a laundromat, miles from her jogging route? It feels like another piece of a puzzle whose picture they can't even begin to imagine. Experts often debate the phenomenon of scent pulling in urban environments. A scent trail isn't a continuous line, it's more like a series of puddles. Scent particles, which are heavier than air, can be carried by the wind and then settle in low-lying, protected areas like storm drains or dense shrubbery. Nuzzles isn't just following a trail, he's hopping from one of these scent pools to the next. From the laundromat, the trail takes another bizarre turn. Nuzzles leads them away from the commercial area and towards a sprawling, desolate landscape on the edge of town. A 400-acre tract of land that was once a thriving industrial hub. Now, it's a graveyard of abandoned factories and decaying warehouses, a place locals call the Iron Boneyard. It's a place people avoid, a wasteland of shattered windows and rust-streaked metal. As they stand at the edge of this blighted zone, the police theory that Amelia was the victim of a crime of passion or a random street abduction is feeling increasingly thin. This isn't a place you end up by chance. This is a place you are taken. The dog, oblivious to the growing dread in the humans behind him, tugs eagerly on the leash, his tail now wagging with a frantic energy. He's closing in. The scent is getting stronger.
The Iron Boneyard swallows the sound of the city. The hum of traffic is replaced by the whisper of wind whistling through broken panes of glass and the creak of rusting metal. It's a landscape of decay, a monument to forgotten industry. Each step kicks up dust that seems to be made of equal parts dirt, rust, and regret. Detective Harding, now a convert to the dog's abilities, has called in backup. Not a full-blown search party. They can't afford to trample whatever trail exists, but a small tactical team to secure the perimeter. The sun is beginning its long, slow descent, painting the clouds in shades of orange and bruised purple, and the shadows of the derelict buildings stretch out like grasping fingers. Nuzzles is no longer casting about. He's on a mission. His body is low and tense, his tail straight out behind him. He's pulling Marcus forward with a strength that belies his gentle name. He weaves through a maze of collapsed walls and skeletal steel frames, ignoring a dozen smaller, more accessible buildings. He's fixed on a single monolithic structure that looms over the entire boneyard, a massive windowless grain silo, a concrete behemoth from a time when the region fed the nation. It's been abandoned for at least 40 years. The massive steel doors at its base are rusted shut, sealed by time and neglect. There's no obvious way in. The team circles the base of the silo, their flashlights cutting uselessly against the sheer concrete walls. It feels like another dead end. But Nuzzles isn't looking at the doors. He's sniffing frantically at a spot where the concrete base meets the earth, a place where years of rain and erosion have carved out a small, muddy hollow. He begins to dig, his paws sending clumps of dirt flying. Marcus kneels beside him and Harding joins him. There, half buried in the mud, is a single faint shoe print. It's an athletic shoe. The tread pattern is a perfect match for the brand Amelia wore. One of the tactical officers produces a pry bar. The main doors are impossible, but he finds a smaller maintenance hatch about 20 feet away, almost completely overgrown with thorny vines. It's a brutal and noisy process to force it open, the screech of tortured metal echoing across the boneyard. The moment the hatch groans open, a wave of cool, musty air washes over them. It smells of stale water, damp concrete, and something else, something faintly organic. Marcus holds the dog back. He doesn't want Nuzzles to rush in and potentially contaminate the scene. Harding and another officer are the first to enter, their weapons drawn, their flashlight beams dancing in the oppressive darkness. The inside of the silo is a cavern of absolute black. It's an echo chamber where every drip of water, every scuttling rat sounds impossibly loud. As their eyes adjust, they see they're on a metal catwalk. Below them is a vast empty space that plunges 100 feet down into darkness. The catwalk circles the interior wall of the silo, leading to a small control room suspended halfway up the structure. It's a precarious, rusty perch. They make their way carefully, their boots clanging on the grated floor. In the control room, they find it, the first sign of life. A small, pathetic tableau of captivity. On the floor is a dirty sleeping bag. Beside it is a pile of empty water bottles and the wrapper from a peanut butter protein bar, the same brand Amelia always ate. On a small, dusty control panel sits a single half-eaten bar, a bite taken cleanly out of it. It's a chillingly domestic scene in a monstrously alien environment. She was here. She was alive. The protein bar suggests it was recent, but she's not here now. The sleeping bag is cold. The water bottles are empty. The hope that had surged with the discovery of the shoe print now curdles into a new, more terrifying fear. They weren't rescuing her. They were just following her ghost. Had the captor been spooked by their arrival? Did the sound of them prying open the hatch send them running, taking Amelia with him? It's a classic criminal procedure dilemma, the investigational compromise. The very act of investigating a scene can alter it, alerting the perpetrator and escalating the danger for the victim. Experts still argue about the tactical trade-offs between a slow, stealthy approach and a rapid over-entry in hostage situations. In this moment, Harding feels the crushing weight of that debate. Did their noisy entrance just seal Amelia's fate? Then one of the officers notices something odd. On the dusty floor of the control room, there are two distinct sets of footprints. One is the cleared tread of a large work boot. The other is a smaller athletic shoe print, consistent with Amelia's. But there's something strange about her prints. They aren't dragged. There are no scuff marks. No signs of a struggle. The steps are evenly spaced, walking calmly alongside the boot prints. It doesn't look like a kidnapping. It looks like she walked in here willingly.
Harding leans over the control panel, his light tracing the dust. He sees a series of numbers traced with a fingertip. 3-30-15. It's not a date. It's not a code he recognizes. It's just another cryptic piece in a puzzle that is growing more complex and more sinister with every discovery. As they stand in the silent control room, the truth of the situation begins to dawn on them. This wasn't a random abduction. This was planned. The silo wasn't a prison. It was a hideout. And the half-eaten protein bar wasn't a sign of a struggle. It was a snack, casually left behind. The most terrifying twist isn't that she was taken. It's that she might have come here on her own. But why? The question hangs in the dead air of the silo, as cold and heavy as the concrete walls around them.
The silence in the silo's control room is a living thing. It presses in on you, amplifying the frantic thumping of your own heart. Harding is staring at the numbers in the dust. 3-30-15. It's not a code. His gut tells him that. A kidnapper doesn't leave clues like a villain in a comic book. This is something else. He looks at Chloe, who has been brought up to the precarious perch. Her face is pale, but her eyes are sharp. "Does that mean anything to you?" he asks, his voice slow. Chloe stares at the numbers, her brow furrowed. 3-30-15, she murmurs, and then her eyes go wide. It's a flicker of recognition so powerful, it's like a light has been switched on in the dark. It's not a date, it's a grid reference from her work. It's a twist so unexpected, it feels like a physical blow. Amelia, the landscape architect, divided large project sites into grids. A major project she'd been mapping for the county, a wetlands reclamation proposal, used a north-south and east-west axis system. 3-30-15 would be a specific 10 by 10 foot square on that map, a map that is currently on her laptop back in an evidence locker. A map that shows the exact geography of the treacherous marshland bordering this very boneyard. She wasn't just a captive, she was a navigator. At that moment, Marcus appears at the doorway of the control room with Nuzzles. He had kept the dog back, but the energy coming off the animal was too intense to ignore. The dog completely disregards the sleeping bag, the old scent of Amelia's fear and sweat. He goes straight to a back wall where a filthy window was long ago smashed open, leaving a jagged hole. He whines, a high, piercing sound of pure urgency. The scent here is different. It's fresh, frighteningly fresh. It's not the lingering scent of yesterday, it's the vibrant electric scent of right now. The chase is on. They scramble down the rusty service ladder that leads from the back of the control room to the ground outside the silo, a hidden exit. The sun is now a bleeding smear on the horizon, and the boneyard is sinking into a deep blue twilight. Nuzzles doesn't hesitate. He bolts not back towards the city, but directly towards a thick, dark line of trees, towards the marsh. This is where the operation shifts. Harding gets on his radio. "Dispatch, we are in active pursuit. I'm declaring exigent circumstances under the hot pursuit doctrine. Suspects are mobile, heading east from the silo complex into the wetlands." The legal term is critical. Hot pursuit is a legal justification that allows law enforcement to continue a chase across property lines, even private ones, without a warrant because the need to apprehend a fleeing suspect or rescue a victim outweighs the procedural delays. The search for a missing person has just officially become the hunt for a kidnapper. They plunge into the marsh. The ground immediately changes from solid earth to a greedy, sucking mud. The air, already humid, becomes thick and cloying, smelling of decay and stagnant water. It's a nightmare of tangled roots, cypress knees that look like grasping claws in the gloom, and the constant, maddening buzz of mosquitoes. A police helicopter circles overhead, its spotlight cutting a futile cone of white through the dense canopy. Their thermal cameras, the pinnacle of search technology, are rendered almost useless. The high humidity and the residual warmth of the swampy ground create a messy, mottled thermal signature. It's an ironic failure of technology, forcing them to rely entirely on the ancient biological machine trotting confidently ahead of them. Nuzzles is in his element.
He moves with a liquid grace, hopping over fallen logs, his nose always to the ground. About a half-mile in, he stops abruptly at the edge of a stagnant pool of black water. He nudges something with his nose. It's a small black piece of plastic, snapped and jagged on one edge. Harding picks it up. It's a propeller blade. Chloe looks at it, her face a mask of confusion and horror. It matches the make of the high-end aerial drone. Remember that untraceable drone she bought with $15,000 in cash? A piece of it is lying here, broken in the middle of a swamp. The discovery presents a maddening choice. Standard procedure dictates they stop, secure the evidence, photograph it, and bag it. But there's no time. This is a core debate in fast-moving criminal investigations. The risk of evidence spoliation. Do you stop to preserve the evidence for a future trial, potentially losing the trail and the victim, or do you sacrifice the pristine evidence to save a life? Harding makes the call. Mark it on the GPS. We're not stopping. He pockets the blade, a potential key to the whole mystery, knowing that a defense attorney could one day argue that the chain of custody was broken in that moment. The light is almost gone now. They are moving through a world of shadows, guided only by their flashlights and the unwavering focus of the dog. The air grows colder. The sounds of the swamp seem to get louder, more menacing. Nuzzles is pulling harder now, whining with an excitement that is both thrilling and terrifying. The scent is overwhelming to him. They are close, so close. Then up ahead, maybe 50 yards through the tangled brush, they hear it. Not a scream, not a shout. A soft, sharp crack of a twig breaking under a heavy foot. Someone is just ahead of them, moving in the darkness.
The sound of that snapping twig hangs in the humid air for a split second, a tiny puncture in the drone of the marshland. Every member of the team freezes. Harding signals for silence with a single, sharp gesture. Nuzzles, however, does not stop. The sound has only confirmed what his nose has been telling him for the last hour. He lets out a single, sharp bark, not of aggression, but of pure, unadulterated discovery. He lunges forward, pulling the leash taut and yanking Marcus along with him through a thicket of saw palmetto. The next few moments are a blur of frantic action. The tactical officers fan out, their flashlights cutting erratic, sweeping arcs through the dense undergrowth. You can hear their heavy breathing, the squelch of their boots in the mud. They are moving towards a small, almost invisible structure tucked into a cluster of ancient cypress trees, a hunter's blind, elevated 10 feet off the swampy ground on thick wooden stilts. It's a dark, camouflaged box, perfectly positioned to be unseen. As they approach, a figure emerges from the shadows beneath the blind. It's a man, but he's not the hulking, monstrous figure you'd expect. He's older, maybe in his late 60s, with a wiry frame and a deeply weathered face. He's wearing stained overalls and a look of profound confusion, as if a SWAT team descending on his hunting spot is the most perplexing thing he's ever seen. He holds up his hands, empty, his eyes wide in the dancing flashlight beams. He offers no resistance. This is not the mastermind they were expecting. "She's up there," he says, his voice a gravelly whisper. "She's hurt." Two officers stay with the man while Harding and Marcus scramble up the rickety wooden ladder. The air inside the blind is stale and close, and there, lying on a rough wooden bench, is Amelia Hayes. She's pale, shivering, her clothes torn and caked with mud. Her right leg is propped up, grotesquely swollen and wrapped in a makeshift splint fashioned from tree branches and strips of her own jacket. She is conscious, just barely, her eyes fluttering open and struggling to focus on the lights. A weak, raspy sound escapes her lips. It's a whimper of relief. They found her. Alive. The statistical miracle every cop and SAR handler hopes for, but rarely sees. Nuzzles, his job done, pushes past the men and begins to gently lick her hand, his tail giving a slow, steady thump, thump, thump against the wooden floor. The story that tumbles out, first in fragments in the blind and later in a warm, clean hospital room, is more bizarre than any of them could have imagined. The man is a local trapper and recluse named Silas Croft. He wasn't her kidnapper, he was her guide. Remember that askew botany book in her apartment? And the professional-grade drone?
it all clicks into place. Amelia hadn't just been interested in botany, she'd become obsessed with it, specifically with finding a single, impossibly rare species of orchid, the ghost orchid, which was rumored, but never proven, to grow in this particular swamp. Finding one would be a landmark discovery, a career-defining achievement for an amateur botanist. She'd bought the untraceable drone to survey the impassable marshland from above. The cash was to keep the purchase off the books, to ensure no professional rivals could track her research. She hired Silas, the only person who knew the swamp's secrets, to lead her to the grid reference she'd identified with the drone. The numbers in the silo, 33015, weren't a cry for help. They were her destination, a note left for herself. The silo was just their base camp, a convenient sheltered place to store gear. The footprints in the dust were theirs, walking side by side. There was no kidnapper. There was no victim. There was only ambition. The irony is staggering. Her carefully constructed life of order and control was upended not by a monster, but by her own secret, chaotic passion. The crime was an accident. 2 days ago, deep in the swamp, she had slipped from a moss-covered log and shattered her ankle. Her phone was broken in the fall. Silas, a man who hadn't been to town in a decade, couldn't leave her to get help. He'd done his best to set the bone and keep her comfortable in the blind, waiting for her to regain enough strength to be moved. The lighter in the storm drain? She'd simply dropped it while getting supplies out of her car near the laundromat days before her expedition began. A meaningless, random event that led the dog on a perfect, if misleading, trail. The final odd detail is perhaps the most legally interesting. When the police run Silas Croft's name, they find he is a person of interest in a cold case from 1988, the disappearance of a hiker in this same area. He was questioned, but never charged due to lack of evidence. Now, years later, he is the central figure in a dramatic rescue. Experts still debate cases like this, where a person with a suspicious past reappears in a heroic or neutral context. Does his role in saving Amelia exonerate his past in the court of public opinion? Or does it simply add another layer of complexity to an unresolved mystery? For now, he is a hero. The unlikely rescuer of a woman who didn't even know she needed rescuing. All thanks to a golden retriever who was trained to find the dead, but ended up following the scent of a desperate, secret ambition that lurked within a meticulously ordered life. The hum of the hospital machinery eventually fades, replaced by the soft rustle of evening news reports celebrating a rescue that was never quite what it seemed. Amelia Hayes will recover, her leg healing far more quickly than her reputation as the woman who inadvertently launched a multi-state manhunt in pursuit of a flower. Silas Croft retreats back into the anonymity of his swamp, his brief, bewildering moment in the spotlight over. And Detective Harding has a new story to tell his grandkids, a reminder that the simplest explanation is so often a red herring for a truth far more strange and human. The heroes of this story are not the police, not the tactical teams, but an odd couple bound by trust. A disillusioned handler and his remarkable dog. A dog who, against all logic and training, followed a scent not of death, but of a secret, wild hope, hidden deep within a meticulously ordered life. In the end, the case of the missing woman reminds us all that the most impenetrable mysteries are often the ones we carry within ourselves, waiting for the right nose to come along and sniff out the truth. Thank you for joining me on this journey tonight. The world is full of these quiet, twisting stories that lurk just beneath the surface of our everyday lives, and it's a privilege to uncover them with you. If you found yourself leaning in a little closer, maybe holding your breath during the chase through the marsh, I'd be so grateful if you'd take a moment to like the video and leave a comment. Sharing the video with a friend who appreciates a good slow burn mystery is one of the best ways to support what I do here. I have so many more cases to explore, so many more threads to pull. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and listen closely to the world around you. You never know what stories it might be trying to tell.